Welcome to the Age of Awakening.
Please identify yourself. Enter.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast where this week we're going to explore the tools, tactics, and strategies to help you. Wait a second, we're not going to do any of that. This is a mailbag question, so I guess maybe we will explore some of the tools, tactics, and strategies to help you achieve personal and business mastery. But I was really excited to do this episode, a mailbag episode. I put some information out there and I said, hey, I'm going to take your questions. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking. And I'll put some of the questions on the air and I'll answer your questions. And I got a handful of them, actually more than a handful, but I'm going to answer a handful. And I'm excited to do this today. I haven't done this in really quite a few years, so I need to do this more often because I want to know what you think. I want to know what's important to you, what's on your mind, because as I often say, this is a conversation. Even though this is me behind the mic, it's kind of a monologue. I like to think of it as a dialogue, and we're having a conversation back and forth. So hearing directly from you is something I really cherish, and I'm very grateful for all of you who reached out and sent your questions. And so I'll hit probably 6 or 7 today, and I'm going to end on one that perhaps you didn't think I would. So make sure you stay around for that one. So, hey, listen, Triple P Nation, if you haven't done so in a while, or if you haven't done so ever, or if you're new to the podcast, please go to your favorite podcast app and hit the like, share, follow, the alert button so you know when the next episode of the Triple P Life podcast is going to drop, so you never miss an episode and you stay up to date on all the great content and all the incredible guests that we have. In fact, I've got a guest next week that I'm probably more excited to interview than anyone I've ever done up to this point. And I've had some great guests. It's going to be Cheryl Atkinson, the former award-winning journalist from CBS News, who recently released a book, Follow the Science. And we're going to get into that because you guys know I talked a lot about during COVID, probably had about 18 to 20 episodes about all the stuff that was going on. And I provided you guys with an absolute ton of research that you weren't hearing, that the popular media was, really was manipulating and restricting from you hearing. And of course, the last year, 18 months, it's all come out that everything that we talked about and other people talked about wind up being true. So it's amazing how all this conspiracy theorists wound up being more prophet-like than anything. And Cheryl's book is a lot about that and so many other things. She is an incredible individual with incredible courage to write about topics that big organizations and corporations don't want you to know or hear, and we're going to discuss that on next week's show. So make sure you look forward to that. And listen, if you haven't, go to YouTube, check us out on YouTube. Make sure you follow us there. Send some comments along. I'll make sure I respond to each and every one of them. Okay, so we're going to start like we always do with our success snack tidbit. And this week, it's the power of active listening. In life, we're faced almost every single day with conflict, and it's usually a lack of understanding between two individuals. Someone doesn't feel heard. Someone feels like their opinions don't matter, and they take offense to it. They get frustrated. They get angry. So how do we become better communicators? The way we do so is by what's called active listening, and there's really 5 simple ways to become a very successful communicator. You say, why communicating? Yeah, communicating, guys, starts with listening. So the first step is to become a great communicator with active listening is to stay present. You got to really focus on the person who's talking to you and don't interrupt them. Allow them to speak and don't interrupt. It's really that simple. Avoid thinking about what your response is going to be while they're talking. Really listen and hear not only the words, but the tone and energy that they're using. Number 2 is reflect back. You see, once they're done speaking, paraphrase, repeat back to what you just heard so you can gain understanding that what they said is what you heard. So there's no misunderstanding whatsoever. So you may want to start it by saying, so listen, this is what I hear you're saying. And when you're done, do I have it correct? and then they'll reflect back to you, yes, you have exactly understood completely what I just said, or no, you misunderstood this. Let me clarify this. And why this is happening is all being done really calm and with very little emotion. So step 3 is acknowledge the feelings of the individual. You see, when we validate other people's emotion, even though we may not agree with it, they feel heard and they feel empathized with. And so this is a really important tool. Acknowledge their feelings. Number 4 is clarifying questions. If something isn't clear to you, very simple to say, can you explain more about that? I don't quite understand it. And then 5 is stay calm, be neutral, keep your composure. Make sure your body language is neutral. Maintain a peaceful orientation in the conversation. And I guarantee you, this is going to help you build such incredible relationships. And I've always said, the better you are at building relationships, the better your life will be. Great communicators have great lives. And I know you can do so as well. So reflect back to me. Email me, drj@PPPLife. Let me know specifically of this active listening process, which one you took away, and then also maybe tell me how you used it in what context and how it helped you create better understanding and more connection to the person you were speaking with. All right, our mailbag episode. So I got a lot of responses, and I just kind of picked them out of a hat. So because they were all good, and I thought that the ones that we picked were really good. And so I'm going to start first with Max K from Montana. He asks, he said, hey, Dr. J, I'm going to graduate from high school next spring. I was wondering, do you think I need to go to college to be a successful entrepreneur? And my answer is absolutely not. I mean, history is replete with people who've been immensely successful, who either never went to college or went to college for a year or so, dropped out, and started companies that were multi-billion-dollar companies. So the answer is absolutely no. Now, do I think a college education is important? I think aspects of a college education is important. There's certain things that you will learn that will benefit you along the way. But in today's world, I think it's hard to find a place that strictly educates and doesn't indoctrinate. And to me, that's the current issue with the college experience right now. You go to school and you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on an education, and you get a little bit of education and a lot of indoctrination. And I'm not paying for that. I don't think there's any value to it. You go to college to open your mind, to be exposed to many different points of view. You go to college to learn how to think, or at least it was that way when I went to college. But now you go to college and you're told what to think and not how to think. So listen, I don't know what business you're considering opening or what you want to, pursue, but there are people out there. Hell, you can go to YouTube and learn anything. There are coaches in industries that can teach you virtually anything you want to do in business that can help you be successful at an absolute fraction of the cost of college education, not the least of which is the time, right? The time, the 4 or 5 years it's going to take you to complete a college education. You could be up to speed in 12 to 18 months if you have the capital to get your business started. So the short answer of it is you do not. There's advantages, but be very, very careful in which college you choose, because you don't want to be investing a crap ton of money in some place that's going to indoctrinate you. Okay, next question is Sarah from Rochester, Minnesota, not far from here. She says, hey, I'm in college right now and I'm considering a career in chiropractic. As a former chiropractor that you are, would you recommend I make the financial commitment and time commitment to pursue my doctorate? Well, this is near and dear to me, of course. I will start by saying this. I absolutely loved being a practicing chiropractor. I love the profession. I love everything that chiropractic has given me. At the very foundation, I'm a chiropractor at heart, not just by what I did, but who I am. And that simply means that chiropractic is a vitalistic approach to healthcare. And everything we do now is based on the chiropractic philosophy that the body is self-healing, self-regulating organism. And when we do the right things at the right reasons, we put the right things into it, our body's going to express health on a more consistent basis. However, chiropractic school is long. It's hard, but you can do it. But it's also incredibly expensive. So what I'm saying is, if you have a passion to serve, and serving the chiropractic way, which I just explained, more vitalistic. In other words, if you go to chiropractic school because you're going to practice medicine light, forget it. That model of chiropractic, those people are not very successful because they're replicating a failed model. I see them all the time. They struggle in practice. So if you're going to get into it for the right reason. Be absolutely passionate about what you want, and you can be incredibly successful. And of course, surround yourself with people who are already successful so you can learn from them what it takes for you to be successful. All right, next question is from Neville from Wichita Falls, Kansas. Interesting. I've never been there. He says, hey, Jay, I'm 48 years old and I've never worked out. So I'm thinking about it. Where do I go to start, and do I need to hire a trainer? He says, hey, I want to look like you when I grow up. Well, thank you, Neville. That's very kind of you. So look, it's never too late to start exercising. So congratulations, Neville, for making that decision. Full-heartedly support you on that. Do you need a trainer? The answer is no. Does a trainer help? Sure. Why? Because if you have no skill or no knowledge of how to get started, it could save you a lot of time in getting to achieve the goals that you want. So here's the questions I ask for you. Why is it important for you to exercise? So you got to know your why, because your why is your leverage that's going to keep you on target to follow through. Because it's easy to go to the gym one day, be really sore and go, yeah, I'll go back the next day. And, maybe you go back, maybe you don't go back. But if you understand why you're doing it, that's going to give you the leverage necessary for those days when you're feeling sore, if it's cold or it's rainy and you don't want to get up and it's dark and whatever it is, right? This is going to help you stay on track. Also, what outcomes are you looking for? Are you looking to lose weight? Are you looking to gain muscle? Are you looking to improve your cardiovascular function? Are you looking to do all three of them? Again, someone like a trainer can give you some guidance of how to implement and put together a plan to achieve all three of these goals. Again, you don't need to. You can find it online, right? There's people online that you can learn from as well too. But the thing is, know your why, start with a plan, start slow, and think long term. Long term. Within 30 days, you're going to start to see results, and you're going to look in the mirror and go, holy smokes. I'm starting to see muscles I haven't seen before, right? And you're going to start to feel better. Your energy is going to improve. So Neville, congratulations. I support you 100%. I'm so excited for you. Keep in touch. Let me know how your results go. And again, reach out for more. If you have more questions, reach out. Be happy to share with you. Next question is from Michelle D. from Monmouth, New Jersey, my old stomping grounds. Hello, Michelle. Glad you're listening to the show. She says, hey, Jay, I took your 3-day money mindset challenge and I love it. And I learned a lot about my money story and what drives my spending habits. I especially like that you provide some very helpful tools to shift my money mindset and my money mindset story. If I want to continue to learn more about this topic, what resources would you recommend? Well, I've got a lot. First of all, there are multiple books that I'm a big fan of. One I read at least every other year, almost every year, and that's The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder. Game changer for me in my money mindset, and this is why I got really passionate about this topic, because there's actually universal laws that relates to the attraction of wealth, abundance, and prosperity. And those are 3 different terms. And at a later show, I'll explain the difference between wealth, abundance, prosperity, money, that kind of thing, because I think it's important for people to understand the distinctions between all 3. Another book that I love that we did with our mastermind group that we went through is Happy Pockets Full of Money, and the author is David Cameron Girandi, Girandi. And I love the way that David writes this story because it's not technical, and it really understands how we develop a scarcity mindset. And the scarcity mindset is a mindset where we think that there's just not enough, that if someone is successful, they're successful at the expense of someone else, and that there's limited or finite resources available, and I better get mine. If I don't get mine, then I'm going to be left holding the bag. And that's just not true. But unfortunately, most of us are taught these limiting money belief stories. Money doesn't grow on tree. Only the super rich or the super rich got that way by being unethical or lacking integrity. Whatever the stories that we have in our head, these all come from pre-programming that occur early in our life. And it plays on a loop in the back of our mind. And every time we pull out our checkbook or credit card or spend money, those old thought habits show up subconsciously. And so it affects our spending habits, it affects our saving habits. And if we don't understand and identify what that story is, there is zero opportunity and chance we will ever be able to attract the kind of abundance that we want in our life. And by the way, abundance is more than just material wealth or money. It's abundant health, abundant thoughts, abundant great relationships. So abundance comes in many shapes or forms. So those are the two resources. Another one is who's been on the podcast many times, is Garrett Gunderson. And he did a revised of What Would the Rockefellers Do? Garrett Gunderson, another great book. These books have been very instrumental in the shaping of my, basically my money story, but also my view on investing, my view on creating financial freedom. So great resources. One other resource I would recommend is we run what's called the Money Mindset Mastermind, where we get together with people and we work on these concepts, but we also work on strategies as well too. And that's something we do each and every month. The group meets and we go through these, we learn together, we grow together, and it's been incredibly successful. A lot of breakthroughs for people. So if you're interested in checking that out, you can go to www.thetripleplife.com/money mindset. So that's www.thetripleplife.com/money mindset. And we'll put a link into the show notes where you can access that. So thanks for that question, Michelle. So the next question is Connor C. from Avon, England. He said, hey, Jay, you spoke in England a few years ago. Do you have any seminars scheduled in the UK coming in the future? And the answer is, unfortunately, no. But hey, Connor, maybe you can help me put together. I would love to come back out to your beautiful country. Love it out there. And we can put out a program. We can do our GPS to Success Summit. We can do Unleash Your Superhero, anything you want to do. So why don't you reach out to me, Dr. J at Triple P Life, and we can figure that out together. Next question is from, I believe it's Anosh from Glendale, Arizona. He says, how do you keep yourself calm and grounded during times of stress, particularly during the campaign season? He said there's so much hatred. People don't talk to each other. They talk at each other. Any suggestions? Well, Anash, if you've listened this far into the show, I talked about active listening. And when people feel heard and they feel understood, that's when you have the really best opportunity to have a logical, calm conversation. People who come at it with, charged emotions, and you're being calm and relaxed, oftentimes you can bring them down. But if they're not bringing their emotional response down, just don't engage. Because there are just some people who are unwilling to listen with an open mind or have the emotional intelligence to be able to engage in a manner in which it's a productive conversations between two people with different ideas. So active listening, give it the best shot you have, use those techniques. And if that doesn't work, just walk away. And then the last one is Amber from Madison, Wisconsin, again, close to home here. And she says, hey, Jay, who are you voting for and why? Okay, well, yeah, I don't talk politics on the show here, but I will answer this. And I'm going to start by saying this. I grew up in New Jersey in a lower middle income family. God, I sound like Kamala. With aspirations, dreams, which I did, by the way. And my entire family were Democrats. We were the blue dog Democrat family, pro-worker, that kind of thing. My mother worked in government for a Democratic administration to help her get a job as the director of consumer affairs for our town for over a dozen years. When I graduated college, when I graduated high school, before I started college, because I had to pay my own way through, I went to work for the town, literally picking up garbage. And that's what I did for a year to save money to start my college education because my family couldn't afford to send me. And I don't know why, but I don't think I had really much access to student loans at that time. It wasn't like it is now. Basically, you just put an application online and, poof, $100,000 shows up. And you never have to pay it back. That's a different story for a different day. So we were Democrats through and through. But over time, the Democratic Party, who stood for the worker, who stood for individual rights, who stood for freedom, personal rights, personal liberty, slowly it really began to change. And so I say that the Democratic Party left me and our entire family. And I'm talking my entire family, all the way up from my father, who's still alive, from all the, aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody no longer relates to this Democratic Party for so many reasons. And I don't want to get into all the specifics, but many of you guys know what that is. But really, I look at it this way. I'm a pragmatic guy. I look at what has occurred the past 4 years and what occurred over the previous 4 years. Well, why am I doing that? Well, that's the choice. The choice is the guy who was in office, 4 to 8 years ago, and the woman who's running for office now, who's been in office the past 4 years. And one very, very intelligent guy said to me when I said, Jay, behavior never lies. So I'm less interested in what people say and what they did. So I hear all these campaign promises. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And my logic brain says to me, well, why the hell haven't you done it? Why the hell haven't you done it? So you're going to tell me now you're going to do what you haven't done up to this point and we're going to get different outcomes? I don't believe it. There's no logic to that. I know what the other guy did, and I know every aspect of our life was better. I know that incomes for all age groups were significantly higher, and particularly amongst minorities. Job growth was at its highest for minorities. I know that open border policies are detrimental to our economy, not only our physical safety as American citizens. Open borders hurt those in the lowest in our socioeconomic ladder than anyone else because they're competing for the same jobs. I know that we've spent $66 billion in the last 3.5 years on illegal immigrants and $3 billion on our vets. That just doesn't make any sense. When you have an open border, you do not have a country, especially a country with all the welfare aspects that we do. It's putting such stress on our healthcare system, our hospital systems. It's putting stress on our housing system. It's part of the reason why the cost of housing is going up. We have more homeless Americans that need homes, and yet we're housing illegals. How does that make sense? Look, I'm not against immigration. In fact, my son-in-law just received his citizenship. He came in and did it the right way, and it took him 6 years and a shit ton of money. He could have went down to Mexico, walk across the border. He would get a free cell phone, free health care, and free housing. But he chose to do it the right way. We should reward the behavior we want. We want good immigrants in this country who are going to contribute to society, who embrace American values. Not those who come here and want to bring their here. When they bring their here, here becomes there. Look, this is the greatest country in the world, and I understand why people want to be here, but do it legally. And we're bringing in people we don't even know, who we already know want to do harm to this country, that are going to put you and me and my family at risk. That's absurd. Why are we doing that? And then there's this talk about saving democracy. Okay. Who doesn't want to save democracy? But here's what I know. Over the last 4 years, we were mandated to get a vaccine that we didn't want. Now, we didn't do it, but millions of people were forced to take the choice of getting a shot or losing their job. And they did it. And many were injured or killed as a result of it. How is that freedom? Freedom of choice. And then, they're talking about censorship. They're outwardly saying they want to censor people who they don't agree with or narratives that don't fit their narrative. And the thing about censorship is the first part to tyranny. In fact, Lori Halsey Anderson said, censorship is the child of fear and the father of ignorance and the weapon of tyrants. At the very core of our fundamental rights as Americans is our first right is freedom of speech. If we can't speak out against things we don't believe in or a government that is corrupt, what can we speak out? And by the way, the Second Amendment was to support the First Amendment, not for hunting, not for hunting. Read your history. And that's the reason why they want to take your guns away. Because they know if they take your guns away, guess what? Censorship is coming because you have no reprisal, none whatsoever. Now, I'm not pro-violence in any way, shape, or form, but there is a reason our founding fathers were brilliant enough to understand that the first was free speech and the second was the right to own and bear arms against a tyrannical government. So economically, look, the facts are what they are. Right now, mortgages are up 7.5% than they were 4 years prior. Personal savings, guys, is down 73%. It was up 385% over the previous administration. Credit card delinquency is up 50%. We have the highest credit card debt in history, over $1 trillion, because people are living on credit just to pay for groceries. Weekly wages, which were up 8.2% 4 years ago, or the previous administration, are down 3.9 now. That's a 12% swing. There's less money in people's pockets. And inflation is a tax because it costs more for the basic services and needs to provide for your family, which means you have less discretionary income to do things like going out to eat, taking vacation. And it goes on and on and on. Energy costs through and through, including gas, electricity, natural gas, is up 34% in 3 years. Car insurance, did you guys pay your car insurance recently? Is up 56%. Eggs, almost 70%. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. So, albeit, I understand there are people who don't like Donald Trump for the things that he says and does. I get it. He's not a perfect candidate. No one is. She's not either. I'm not voting for the guy. I'm voting for the policies because the country cannot continue to go on the route it's going. I'm very fearful for the future if we continue on this path, economically, socially, financially. I want your kids and my kids to have the same opportunities and the same chance to live a better life than I did than my parents. First time in history, it's being reported that the current generation will have less opportunity and less chance at the American dream than any time in history. That's on us. We can't allow that to happen. That's our legacy to our kids, our grandkids? No, not at all. Some people said to me, Jay, don't touch this. Don't touch this. You're going to piss people off. Well, here's what I say. If someone got upset, it wasn't my intention. But Amber asked the question, and I wasn't going to shy away from it. And you know what? When this country was being formed, the founders risked everything, including their life, in this thing they believed in called America. And so me risking some listeners, please. So that's my suggestion. I think the best way forward, without question, is a vote for Donald Trump. So as I always say, guys, you have to decide for yourself. You have to make the best decision for you and your family. But I have for me, my family has made, and we will continue to support that decision because we think it's the best way forward. Okay, so I want to thank everyone again for contributing to the mailbag. I'm really excited to cover these questions. Again, next week on our show will be Cheryl Atkinson, former CBS News investigative reporter. By the way, you can check out her podcast. I'll give you all the information next week. Cheryl Atkinson podcast, great stuff there. It's going to be a mind-blowing interview. I'm sure you're not going to want to miss it. So listen, thank you for taking the time to join me this week. Love and appreciate each and every one of you. Whether we agree or disagree, it doesn't really matter. It's about a community of people who want to grow, who want to improve, become better, improve their lives in every aspect, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, that can support each other, encourage each other, and be there for each other. I'm grateful to be behind this mic each and every week. I'm grateful for each and every one of you. I love you. I support you. I wish you nothing but the best in the future. And as I always say, you be you. Just be the best you. And I promise you will always empower your dreams, ignite your passion, and accelerate your prosperity. Take care.